My name is Eleanor Hayes, and for 47 years, this house on Maple Street was my sanctuary. My late husband, Thomas, and I bought it right after we married in 1975. Every inch of it holds memories. The scratch on the doorframe from when our son Michael was learning to ride his bike indoors, the faint coffee stain on the linoleum where Thomas proposed again on our 25th anniversary, just because he felt like it. And the kitchen, the kitchen was my heart. Those oak cabinets Thomas built himself, the blue willow china passed down from my grandmother, the chipped porcelain teapot I used every morning while watching the sunrise over the garden. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Ours. When Michael married Sarah 3 years ago, I was over the moon. She was bright, ambitious, always talking about fresh starts and modern living. They were struggling with rent in the city, so when Michael asked if they could move in temporarily while they saved for a place of their own, I said yes without hesitation. Just until you're on your feet, he promised. I moved some things to the guest room upstairs, gave them the master bedroom downstairs for space, and kept my little routines in the kitchen. I thought it would be nice, family under one roof again. At first, it was fine. Sarah smiled a lot, helped with dishes sometimes, but little comments started slipping in. Eleanor, these cabinets are so dated, don't you think? Dark wood just absorbs light. I laughed it off. They've held up through 4 decades of spills and love. That's enough for me. Then came the day I went to the grocery store and returned to find half my counter cleared. My old stand mixer, Thomas's mother's, was gone from its spot. Sarah was there, wiping down the surface with a microfiber cloth like she was prepping for surgery. "Oh, I just moved a few things around," she said brightly. "It feels so much more open now. You don't mind, right? It's easier to cook this way." I minded, but I bit my tongue. Michael was happy, and I didn't want to start trouble. It got worse. One Saturday, I came home from visiting my sister to find the kitchen smelling of fresh paint. The lower cabinets were a stark white, bright, cold, modern white. My beautiful oak, sanded down and covered like it never existed. Sarah was standing on a stool, roller in hand, humming. "Surprise," she chirped. I couldn't stand how gloomy it was in here. White reflects light, makes the space feel bigger. I even ordered new hardware, sleek chrome poles. You'll love it once it's done. I stared at the half-painted cabinets, my throat tight. "Sarah, those were Thomas's cabinets. He built them by hand." She waved it off. "I know, but they're old. And honestly, Eleanor, it's time for an update. You deserve something fresh, too. I threw out those cracked old plates, the blue ones. They were chipped and dusty. I replaced them with these nice white stoneware from Target, much more hygienic." My blue willow china, the set my grandmother carried across the ocean when she immigrated. Only a few pieces left after years of careful use, but each one a story. Gone. In the trash. I felt something crack inside me. Not anger yet, just a deep, quiet hurt. But I said nothing. I nodded, went upstairs, and cried into my pillow so no one would hear. From then on, I watched. I stayed silent. I documented. I took photos of the painted cabinets, the empty shelves where my china had been, the new, modern utensils she'd bought that replaced my cast iron skillet, which she called gross and outdated. I noted every time she told me to stay out of the way while she organized, or when she sighed loudly about my old-fashioned way of doing things. I even recorded a few conversations on my phone, quietly, legally, since it's one-party consent here, when she mocked my cooking to Michael behind my back. "She's so stuck in the past, babe. I just want to help her move forward." Michael would murmur something non-committal. He loved her, and he loved me, but he hated conflict, so he stayed quiet too. Weeks passed. The kitchen was fully modernized now. White, sterile, impersonal. My teapot sat alone on a high shelf she'd moved it to, out of reach. I made tea in a cheap mug instead. One morning, while they were both at work, I called my lawyer, Mr. Reynolds, the same man who'd handled Thomas's will and our house deed all those years. I explained everything. I showed him the photos, the recordings, the bank statements proving I'd paid the mortgage and taxes alone since Thomas passed. Sarah and Michael had never contributed a dime, despite promising to help out. Mr. Reynolds listened patiently. "Eleanor," he said, "the house is in your name, solely. They are guests, tenants at will at best. You can ask them to leave, and if they refuse, we can make it formal." I thanked him and hung up. Then I waited. That evening they came home. Sarah immediately started critiquing the dinner I'd made, my old recipe for pot roast, which she'd once called heavy. I set the table quietly. After we ate, while Michael was in the living room scrolling his phone, I placed a folder on the kitchen counter, the new white counter. "Sarah, Michael," I said calmly, "we need to talk." Sarah rolled her eyes a little. "What now, Eleanor? Is it the paint again?" I opened the folder. The deed, my name only, the mortgage payoff statement from last year, the property tax receipts, all in my name, and a formal notice to vacate, drafted by Mr. Reynolds, giving them 30 days. Sarah's face went pale. "What is this?" "This," I said softly, "is proof that this is my house. Not yours, not ours, mine. You've repainted my cabinets, thrown away my grandmother's china, rearranged my life without ever asking. You called it modernizing, I call it disrespect." Michael looked stunned. "Mom, we didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to hurt me?" I asked. "Then why didn't you stop her? Why didn't you say, 'That's my mother's kitchen. Those are her memories'?" Sarah crossed her arms. "We were trying to help. This place needed updating. You're being dramatic." I smiled. Small, sad. "Maybe, but dramatic or not, you have 30 days. Find a new place. I'll even help with the first month's rent if you need it. But you will not stay here another month treating my home like a project." Michael tried to argue. Sarah stormed upstairs, slamming doors. I didn't yell. I didn't cry in front of them. I just went to bed early, locked my bedroom door for the first time in years, and slept soundly. The next day, while they were out apartment hunting in a panic, I hired a handyman. Not to repaint, never to erase what Thomas built, but to change the locks, just in case. And I started unpacking the few blue willow pieces I'd secretly saved from the trash weeks earlier, washing them gently, placing them back where they belonged. 30 days later, they moved out. Michael hugged me goodbye, tears in his eyes, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have stood up." Sarah wouldn't look at me. She carried boxes to the car like they weighed nothing. The house felt empty at first, but peaceful. Mine again. I repainted the cabinets myself, back to warm oak, stroke by stroke. It took weeks and my hands ached, but every brushstroke felt like reclaiming a piece of my life. I bought new dishes, simple ones, but I kept the blue willow front and center. Michael calls sometimes. He and Sarah are in a small apartment now. Things are tense between them, he says. He's learning to speak up. I tell him I love him. Always will, but I also tell him boundaries aren't optional. And every morning I make tea in my old porcelain teapot, sit at the table Thomas built, and watch the sunrise. The kitchen smells like coffee and memories again. Not modern, just mine. If you've ever had someone try to erase your past under the guise of helping, know this: silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the calm before you take back what's yours. Thanks for listening to my story. If it resonated, drop a like, subscribe for more real-life tales of quiet strength, and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to set a hard boundary with family? I'd love to hear.